This is a home interview, Troy, New York, the 12th of April 2006, approximately 2:30 p.m. Interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Oh, my name is Thomas Paul Ryan.
Where and when were you born?
I was born right here on the corner in Troy, and I lived in this house since 1935. We moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, Astoria, Long Island, Fort Plain, Rensselaer, and here. When I got here in 1935, I said, I'm not going any place. I lied. I went in the Navy.
Okay. When were you born?
1924, August 19th.
Okay. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
Well, you know what? About one thing about my education, I walked to school for 10 years. And you came through Troy, that's where I had to walk from here all the way up through the city to go to high school. Okay, and I have I got all that schools, the places I mentioned, I went to school there, came here, went to school here, in the Catholic school of Foot the Hill. That's the only place I had a short walk. The rest of the places I had to walk like heck to get there. You know the old saying, the snow was up to your knees and all like that.
I used to walk 10 miles both ways uphill.
Oh, gee. And then, let's see, I took a shop course, and that's about it. I went to work at 17. I quit, and I said, that's enough work. You know, I mean, school, I got to go and get some money, because we were raised during the Depression, and it was no money. You wanted anything you wanted, you let it go. Make it or buy it with, you know, salvage or something.
Why is that picking me up?
All right now?
Yep, we're doing.
Okay, roll 'em.
Okay. Do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yes, I was working over in Waterville.
How did you hear about it?
There was a rumor that started spreading all around.
Do you remember your reaction when you heard about it?
Yeah, where's Pearl Harbor?
Okay.
Little did I know I'd be there 6 or 7 times.
Okay. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I had to get drafted,
Okay.
but I had a choice of my services, you know, so I took the Navy.
Why?
Because I was tired of walking. I've been walking all my life, and I said, I'm going to ride. Little did I know what I was going to ride on.
When did you go into the service?
And let's see, it was March of 1943, and I got out April of 1946.
Okay. Where did you go for basic training?
Sampson.
What was it like at Sampson when you were there?
Cold.
Okay.
The frost came up in the barracks. The frost came right up the poles, right up above the floor. That's how cold it was up there.
So they had barracks built when you were there?
Yes.
And they have, for example, did they have boats to use and so
Yeah,
on?
yeah, but they had them. They didn't let you out in them because it was so stormy and cold. You know, you had to take your chances on
Yeah.
that.
Okay. How long were you at Sampson?
Six. I don't know, about maybe 12 weeks, something like that.
Where did you go from Sampson?
Oh boy, I had to go and pick up my ship down in New York in, what the heck is it, Pier 32 or something like that. It was an old fruit line refrigeration ship, and it had, it traded from New York all the way down to the Caribbean, you know, Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Panama, and it would bring back sugar to the States. And it was loaded with cockroaches and rats. and I never saw such a ship in my life. It was made out of rivets, though. That'll give you an idea how old the ship was. And it had wooden decks on it. They used to transport people, you know. And we start transporting troops back and forth. So,
How large was a crew on a ship like that?
oh, a little over 100 probably, 100 and a quarter maybe.
And what was the purpose of this ship? It transported?
It transported cockroaches and rats first, but then we only took like one run down through there, and then we loaded up with some people who had to go to California, and we went through the Panama Canal up into Terminal Island, and from Terminal Island was the what do you call it when you come from the Asians had to come there and get, integrate it. It's like an Ellis Island. That's what it was. But it had a prison and a tuna factory on it too. So I was intrigued. I had to be over there watching the tuna boats coming in and unloading their fish and watching how they cooked them. They put them on racks and they shoved them in the oven and pulled them back out, and then they gave them to the girls, and the girls filled all the cans up with oil and salt. It was I was learning all the time I was on there, you know. And then we had to go to we went to the Elise Islands, which is on the south side of the equator. So it became a shellback going down there. Then we became...
What was that ceremony like?
Some guy was going to initiate you, and they had to accuse you of something on it, you know. So he says, you're going to kiss my ass. I said, yeah. So he started unbuckling his pants and all like that, but all he did when they blindfolded me, he pulled his shirt up. He got his old big beer belly there, you know. They did everything to everybody, you know, to degrade you. What a ship. But all the fighting on that ship was done between the crew, the rebels and the Yankees. And it really was. I mean, they hated each other, you know. They wouldn't, us from New York, they wouldn't even look at you, you know. But they would harass you and all like that. So the Master at Arms was a tough guy, boy, I'll tell you. And he was a second-class bosun mate. And when we were trying to offload in one of the islands, Ulithi or something, one of them places there, the crews are working around the clock trying to unload all the stuff out onto the islands for the troops. Okay. They worked for quite a while. They were dog tired, and they said, we're not going to work no more. So the officer at deck comes down and he says, you know, if you don't work, it's mutiny. A whole bunch of you are going to wind up, you know, in prison. So the bosun mate says, sir, you go back to the bridge and I'll talk to these guys, you know. Okay. He gets back to the bridge, and then he says, who am I going to talk to? The bosun mate says, who am I going to talk to? So the biggest guy in the crew says, me. Okay. So they have a little chit-chat and all like that, and he's still adamant he ain't going to work, but his crew ain't going to work either. So, okay. So the bosun mate says, I'll tell you what, I'll force you into work, or you can do it yourself. He says, the guy says, take your gun off first. Okay. Took the gun off. They went down into the hole, and they whacked hell out of each other for quite a while down there. Finally, the big guy called it quits. He told the crew, load, you know. They did. So he prevented a mutiny right there. I'm learning all this stuff as I go along, you know. Jeez, I never saw or heard of anything like that. And, okay, we got out of there, went back up to, we went to Hawaii again for more material, you know, food. And then we start stocking all the invasions all the way up. But they're all over. We never fired a shot. And
what kind of weapons did the ship have on it?
3-inch guns for a main battery and 20 millimeters. geez, I don't know if they had a 40 millimeter or not, you know. But mostly rows of 20 millimeters up on a superstructure and then 3-inch guns at the 4 corners of the ship. And that's what it was. Let's see. I can't think now. Anyhow, went back down and we went to all these different islands after the invasion and stacked them all up and all like that. And I became a first-class seaman because I passed all the tests and all like that, and I fought all the rebels on the ship. So they got rid of me. They didn't want me. So I got put off in Hawaii, took a tanker back to Southern California, got off on that Ellis Island there, Terminal Island that is, and they put us in one of them shacks that the people came from Asia to get into, and it had broken windows and doors, and the fog was coming in the windows and doors. I said, how the hell are we going to live in this place, you know? So finally they says, we're going to use you for work. So they took us out of there and put us over in the prison. But yeah, right into the locked gates and everything like that. They gave us a building that we were in. This is a whole crew now coming back, you know, they're being really assigned. There were carpenter mates and cooks and everything you could think of, you know. So, okay. We stayed in the prison for a while, and then they says, get your dress blues on. No, not your dress, your undress blues on. That's without all the striping and all like that. And followed me, and we went over to a shipyard, the Bethlehem Steel, and it was making destroyers. A little did I know we were going to wind up on one of them. And we start pulling all the stuff out of one of them that was hit. And in fact, we were underneath the gun mounts, underneath was Christmas presents, still in their wrappings and all like that. We had to salvage all that stuff, and because everybody owns whatever they own on the ship, you know. Okay, we got done with that. We're all dirty. They said, you can go back, and you had to walk back, of course, from that ship in the shipyard to your barracks. And then let's see, after that, they gave me a leave. And I looked at the damn thing, it had 10 days or 15 days on it, I think. And I said, geez, I could go home in 15 days if I had the money. On a train, that is, you know. There's no planes in them days. So I counted up my money, and I says, if I don't eat on the train for 3 days, I'll be able to make it home. I did. But luckily, the women in them stations had coffee, sandwiches, donuts. That's what we survived on. The whole bunch was going that way, you know. And I stayed home. I sent back, I told him I spent 8 days traveling on the train. I would like to have the other 7 days to, you know, to enjoy. So they gave me another 10 days and told me to report to Treasure Island in San Francisco. I went to San Francisco after I got back, you know, from New York. Went to San Francisco, and the great big huge barracks, and there was hundreds of guys in it. And little did I know that they were making up ship crews. Everybody, every kind of a job at all, firemen, seamen, storekeepers, everything that would run a ship were there. And they made up all the list of the ones that were going on each one of the ships. They sent us down to Terminal Island again. I said, oh, gee, this is looking familiar. I mean, a job on a fishing boat, you know. Okay, we got down there, and they started saying, you have to go over on the ship itself. It ain't ready yet, but you have to go over and work so you'll know compartments and everything that you're supposed to know about a ship. You know, you're absorbing all this stuff as they're pushing it on you. And we finally got it together, and then a strange thing happened. Just as we were going to go out to a shakedown cruise, we were tied up next to a ferry dock. And when we backed the ship out, it sucked all the water out from like a undertow, like out from underneath the pier. Out come a body. Gee, had to stop the ship, retie the ship up and all like that, call the medical examiner, and then the word went out, we're jinxed. You know, I'm thinking crazy things like that. I don't believe in jinx. We were. It's okay. We shook the ship down, turned out all good reports on it, and then we went to, where did we go? We went off California coast, and we tried everything going, speed runs, gunnery, everything you could shake a ship down with. And then we took off for Hawaii. We got to Hawaii, and we had, I don't know, a little time there anyhow, enough to go out and see what the island was like again. I was there 6 or 7 times with that other ship. So, okay. And we took off for Ulithi.
Now, what kind of ship was this? You didn't tell us.
The destroyer?
Mm-hmm. It was a destroyer.
Destroyer mine layer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a dummy. One of them pictures has got a dummy. They have to make the mine tracks work so they won't be rubbing or loose or anything like that. They have to put one of these big mines on it, you know, and shove it around. And they have turntables to turn it from one side of the ship to the other, all like that. It was a mine layer, but we didn't lay any mines. Well, I take it back. We did. Once we laid a field of mines, but they're dead ones, you know. And it was to give the minesweepers a course, you know, in breaking up how to work at it, a minefield, you know. So then we took off for, once we got out of there, we had Ulithi, we had sweepers, and we had patrol craft, PCs, and destroyer mine layers. Like I said, we didn't use the mine laying equipment for laying, but there was a purpose for it, though. We didn't know it right away. We got to Iwo Jima, and we start taking the minesweepers in closer and closer to the shore. And the closer you got to shore, the more fire they shot at you. You know, the artillery started working on you. And then when you got close enough, they had heavy machine guns working on you. But the minefield has to be cleaned out. You know, all that. Then we come back out, and we lay radar buoys in this area that's been swept, and then that gives the troop ships with their, you know, their landing craft. You load them up, take them out, and you get in a formation, and they go towards the beach, the buoys. Okay, so the first time I knew it was going to be, I said, geez, here we are, the first ones here, and somebody said, no, we ain't. The frogmen, the guys at underwater demolition team, they were already here before the invasion, and they were in the water, and they had whatever it was they had to do. But the main thing, I guess, was after they had to insert the beach master. The beach master he's like a traffic cop, and he had his crew with him, and they were on the beach before we even got in there, you know, close enough. They were already on the beach. But on the way in, it looked like they're running in a big sprinkler system. There was a machine gun bullets coming up, you know, guys with the water come all around them. They had to come back around the the destroyer that let them off, and then, which wasn't us, come up behind them and get some shelter, and then we try to we turn our anti-aircraft guns on the beach, the 4-barrel 40 millimeters and twin 40 millimeters, or rake the beach all to hell, you know. And plus we already we shot out 6 artillery pieces on the beach that were shooting at us. It was dueling like back and forth, and it was the oddest thing in the world, because the battleships and the cruisers were firing over the top of us into the beach, where they laid way out from the beach. They were firing in. They had spotter planes up telling them where their shells are going and how to drop them in. They were going, quite a while, and then they finally got to insert the Beachmaster so he can do his job. So when they were coming in with their landing craft, we put a smoke screen all the way down along the beach that we had cleared away, you know. And then we took off, and I says, "What the heck? We're not, you know, you're not going. You're getting the island's getting further and further away from us, and like that." He said, "We ain't going back. Our job is done already. Here it is, D-Day. The battle didn't even start yet for the land, and we're gone." I said, "Holy crap! What is going on?" And we were getting reports from the beach that they only got up 15 yards or 10 yards. The Marines being held back on the beach, they couldn't get in, and we had to wait a long time before they get in. I guess they fought pretty bad. And we went back down the Ulithi, and we got down there, and there's a whole fleet ready. Carriers, cruisers, destroyers, minesweepers, all kinds of minecraft and all like that. And that was set for Okinawa. Okay, we got that. We got up to, this is all before all the ships got there again, before the invasion. And we had a fight with the aircraft. We had a fight with every damn thing that come along. We shelled the beaches. We laid out offshore in the dark and watched the artillery dueling back and forth. You know, you could see the tracers going through the sky at night, going into them and like that. I said, "Geez, why can't we tell them they're a little bit short?" I mean, so it wasn't long before they caught on themselves. They put a guy from the beach out on a boat, and he's the one that would call the shots for our ship itself, to fight the artillery that was firing at the other guys down the beach, our guys. This is confusing, isn't it?
I got it. Now, you said that it was difficult on your ship because of the mine tracks in the dark?
Yes, it was deadly. Yeah. You had to run. You don't walk the general quarters. You run. You climb ladders as fast as your feet can fly, you know. And then when you're running on the main deck, it's all steel tracks. There's no plain open deck where you can promenade or walk around or anything. You had to climb over everything because it had mine tracks, mine cleats, everything all over it, you know. It was a real obstacle. Now, we bring you up to when we got hit, the 12th of April, and they had a rumor started at breakfast that there was a big raid coming, you know. So it's only a rumor. Well, everybody's got rumors, you know. We didn't know that they broke the Japanese code, and they knew what was coming. They were coming in droves. Wow. And we missed a few meals, I'll tell you. Every time you went to general quarters, it would be around time you should have ate. You never got to eat. In fact, I took there was 3 days and 3 nights up in my gun tub.
And what kind of gun tub were you in?
20 millimeter. I'll show you one. I'll show you. It's on on the number 2 stack. It's raised up off the superstructure. And when I got down out of that thing the next day, I looked underneath it. The whole deck was scoured and gouged where the first suicide plane hit. All the shrapnel went right by underneath the gun tug and took out the motor whaleboat that was hanging on his davits beyond, just over the side of the ship from us, you know.
Now, where did the first plane hit?
He hit forward up in the 20 millimeters up on the starboard side. And luckily, not luckily, but he hit a big winch that moved the mines. It took an awful jolt, you know, and it saved some lives, but not many. And the second one was already coming in on his run too, which would be the port side, my side. So when he came in, these planes were coming in. We're having pieces of them coming off, and you could see them fluttering down behind them, you know, but you couldn't stop them. They're coming in, you know, like a rockets at you. And the second guy hit, and he hit underneath Mount 51, a 5-inch double-mounted gun, and the ammunition hoists are all open. They have powder, shells, and all like that. They're going up into the mount, so it's accessible by plane anyhow. You know, if you went through the side of the ship or whatever. So the magazine exploded, and the whole forward part of the ship just disappeared. And a big whoosh you couldn't see for a while because everything was blacked out, browned out, I think it is. Anyhow, we had the starboard side had 220 millimeters left. The 4-barrel 40 millimeter next to them had the 2 left-hand barrels bent down into the deck, and the whole left side of the mount crushed. And then all the forward guns, the 4 or 5-inch guns, were all gone. The crews are gone. So that left 220 millimeters to protect the starboard side of the ship. And over on our side, there was our 220 millimeters and a quad 40 on the deck below us, on the superstructure below us. And the pointer on that quad 40 was the guy that gave me the thing, Mac. He was the pointer on it. And he had, I think, 1 or 2 of the loaders gone. Either they got blown off the side of the ship or they jumped off or something like that. And this is when everything started going downhill.
Now, you said the captain saved the ship.
He did. As soon as that ship, you know, got hit, he ordered all back full. We were enveloped in smoke and all like that. But that's what he hollered anyhow. He's on another deck. He got blown over the side, onto the next deck or whatever it was. He hollered all back full, and the quartermasters, they rang up all back and full, and the ship eased in instead of racing you. We were running fast, you know. And this is the way you fight the aircraft. You don't stay still. You move fast and zigzag and all like that. Okay. He hollered that, and they responded right away. And then
Now, how did that save the ship?
the pressure, the forward pressure. There's nothing up in the front of the ship at all. It's all blown away. So you would come right up against the forward fire room. And then the engine room was after that. There's one a forward fire room for each screw on the ship, you know. And by him doing that, the pressure wasn't as great, but it was, the forward fire room was still leaking, so it accounted for all the blankets and mattresses we didn't have around. They grabbed the mattresses and they put them up against the leaks, and they shored them up to hold back some of the water anyhow. Then they used the other blankets for the wounded. It carried the parts to guys. They put them in the blankets, roll it up, tie the ear in it, and grab a hold of each ear and run down to the back end of the ship with the parts in it. Now you're going to read in that other part where the guy that wrote from the minesweeper that assisted us, he told how bad it was. It really was. He says they're throwing the body parts over the side of the ship, and that wasn't true. So that's not true when you read it. What they were throwing over was bloody clothes. They had to cut them off the guys, you know, and the medical things and all like that, and they just started them out to something that was getting in the way, and all the wounds that were laying around on that deck. So he anyhow, he didn't tell the truth because he didn't know it, because he wasn't on the ship. There weren't body parts being thrown over. It was just bloody clothing like that. They had to cut the clothes off a lot of them. They had big pieces of steel stuck in their backs, and they were going by our gun mounts, you know. They keep saying, move aft. They're trying to set up an aid station back there. Keep moving. And they're asking us for help. We're the only two 20 millimeters on the whole ship on the port side. We said, we can't help you. You got to keep moving yourself. So the wounded had to help each other getting down to the aid. The first plane that hit wiped out the doctor, wiped out Doc Burris, wiped out his aid man, wiped out the operating table, his instruments and drugs. Everything was wiped out in one shot. And he was a casualty. And they had to carry him off the ship. We finally, anyhow, they had to set up that aid station. So finally, they had to show guys how to give morphine, because they had 2 pharmacist mates left to do all this work that, you know, all the wounded coming down. They showed them how to give them morphine. And above all things, they had to tag them, because if you give them morphine and some guy comes along and gives them another shot, you'll have to kill him, you know. So you had to know something about medicine. We don't know nothing. But they try to teach us after it was all over what to do, you know, when you got all them casualties. Okay, now we have to defend the we have that one quad 40 and our 2 20 millimeters up on the stack, and we had the port side from 180 degrees to 360 degrees to defend. But we're better off than the guys on the starboard side. They only had 2 20 millimeters left. Every one of the guns on the starboard side were gone. They had casualties and crushed guns and all like that. So the runner would come down from the bridge. He's getting the information from the radar ships and all like that. They say like flash red, patrol yellow, 3 bogeys, 225 degrees. So you figure from 180 to 225, you know, the 3 of them are coming in this way, you know. And then a funny thing, not funny, strange thing was happening. when he would come down with all these reports where the planes are coming in, but they didn't attack us, they just went by us. They went by, and he would come down with the next message, and he would holler another quadrant, you know, so many more coming, and the wounded start crawling off the ship. They try to crawl off the ship, so everybody was going crazy, trying to hold them back. They wanted to get off, you know. They didn't find out until later. It was blabbermouth coming down the deck telling us what to do. And they wanted to get off. So they had to hold them down. Oh, another thing. I looked down at the deck. It wasn't blue anymore. It was red. The decks were red. They had footprints in them. I said, oh, geez, boy, this is going to be tough. So, I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. They let me get off the gun and get some sleep, which we were haunted for, really. And I just about got in a sack, and then somebody hollering down the hatches. There was no electricity on the ship. It's all dead. Hollering down the hatches. Everybody out of that deck at muster. Everybody. So, okay, we're moaning and groaning and going up the ladders and get out to where we mustered every day we were on that ship. Out of 20-some guys, there was 9 of us left. But we were somewhat better than some of the others. Because they only had 1 guy left. And no place to muster. It was really... And they said, here's the kicker too. There's no food. All the food was blown away. The mess deck was gone, which is the only place on the ship you can sit down. You know, there's no chairs on a destroyer. You sat down on your locker. It was underneath your bunks, you know. If it's up, you can sit down on it. That's the only place you had to sit. But if you went up, when you go up to your meals, they had the bench went all the way along the tables. And that was gone, the food was gone. And they said, what else can happen? There was no coffee. How do you start a day with no coffee? So we had a big food, you know. Send over, they say, send over 50 guys or something like that and we'll feed you, you know. He says, could you use your own boat? Because our boat is all full of holes. It's unseaworthy. And they moaned and groaned about it, but they took the 50 guys, you know, from their boat, put them in, take them to their place, and they'd start feeding them. So, okay, that night, that's the part, they let me off my gun to go. They had a patrol craft come in, and he had a hot meal ready. And they let me off the gun, and then in stages we went over there, you know, and jumped on it because he's tied up alongside. And, oh, Jesus, you can smell the steak and everything like that. And everything is going to be beautiful. I cut into this steak. It's running bloody. That was it. My stomach says, don't put it in here. So I ate potatoes or powdered eggs, I guess, or something like that. It was on the plate, on the tray. That was it. I said, I wasn't that hungry anyhow now. So we had to get all our meals from different ships in the area. And they'd send them over. But they were good sports, though. We had no place to wash up. We still had this flash cream on us. You know, we could look at all the guys that never used it. In fact, nobody does. And they were all burned. The skin was peeling off their faces and on hands and all like that. So we loaded it up with flash screen. And then there's no place to wash it off or anything like that. So when we get on these boats that they send over to feed us, the guys to be a chow line, they were going there, you know, and they'd say, "What the hell happened to you guys?" Say, "The destroyer over there with no bow on it, that's us. And us that has no food either." They said, "Holy jeez." They're stepping aside, pushing us up front. We survived.
What were your total casualties on the ship?
114. 57 killed, 57 wounded. Set.
How long did you stay off Okinawa with that kind of damage?
Well, you got the pictures of it. They had it taken, we had to wait a week to get into that floating dry dock. And by the way, the same night that we got into it, they were fixed. They wouldn't take us right away. They have to take all these other ships that are hit, and they can be put back out on the line, you know. They fixed them up, showed them out, and they go back up on the line again. All right. Came us, they had to send the divers over the side first to cut off a lot of the stuff that's hanging in the water so they could get it in the dry dock, you know. And then when they raised it up, it was at night. And we had guys still drowned for a week now in the magazines. As soon as it came up out of the water, you could smell them for miles around. Boy, they really smelled, you know. I don't know if you ever smelled a drowned person. It's real raunchy. Okay, then they said, "Now, you guys get the bodies out. We'll try and unload some of the ammunition and start cutting metal away and welding and all the stuff that they had to do." They tried to do anyhow. So at night, they couldn't use no lights at night because the planes would pick you up. You're still under attack almost daily, you know. And I think it was Tokyo Road says they knew it was in. They knew the floating dry dock was in to repair the ships and like that, you know. And they're going to meet us sometime around whenever they can. That was a big laugh for her. That night when we went up in there, a plane came in. I swear to God, he put tire tracks on the top of this ship because it was sticking up higher than the dry dock, you know. And he never knew. They were telling us fire, fire. I said, yeah, at what? They got 180 degrees, and you're supposed to see at night, but they think you can see the fire from the engines, you know, the exhaust. And if you see that, you can fire out of it. Geez, we couldn't see nothing. It was perfectly dark. And they're on fire, fire. I said, geez, you're talking through your hat. I can't see nothing. Oh, dear.
Were you there during the, did you go down there for the typhoon? Yeah.
We had rough weather going there, but I don't remember being hit with the typhoon. I knew the minesweepers are smaller and the patrol craft are smaller, and we had to wait until we got up on top of a high wave and look and see if you can see the mast that you're supposed to be around you. They're done in yardage all the way around you. And that was about the roughest I seen in that ship. I don't know about what happened for the typhoon. We must have waited it out somehow or other on an island. But we had to go. They said, okay, we're going to take you now and send you to Guam. So how the heck are you going to send us to Guam? We haven't even got a ship to take us there, you know. And Guam, they say, 1,200 miles away. So they says, no problem. They gave us a salvage tug. He put a cable on us. When he started to tow, the cable broke. So okay, refixed the cable, and they said, you'll have to use your engines. So they put the engines in reverse and started the 2 screws, and we followed them for 1,200 miles to Guam.
So you basically backed.
We went backwards, and that ought to be a record for some kind of a ship anyhow. 1,200 miles in reverse.
What they do when you reach Guam?
They tied us up alongside of a repair ship. You'll see a picture of it. And they worked on us, running cable, wire, electricity, all the things you really need to run a ship. They started on it. And then they had built a bow, a false bow on it. You'll see that too. All the front part of the ship is just a little stubby bow. And they said, that'll get you to Hawaii. And you can see from Hawaii, you can go back to Terminal Island. We got to Terminal Island. They said, well, I guess you can make it to Panama. We went to Panama. The only place it would take us, you had to go to Portsmouth, Virginia, to the Naval dry docks there. So after being incapable of doing anything in Okinawa, you would say you'd hit the lottery 3 times over before you ever got to the United States with that mess of junk, And we did. Not only went to the United States, we went through the Panama Canal and all the way up into the Virginia. Then a real good thing happened. I got discharged.
Okay, after you left the service, did you make use of the GI Bill at all?
No.
How about the 5220 Club?
I think I took it for about a couple of weeks. I said, I got to get more money, and I went to work.
Did you ever join any veterans organizations?
Well, I was on my first ship, the Cockroach one. One of the guys was a VFW guy, and he told me, he says, when you get to Virginia, you'll be able to go to the VFW club, and your drinks are a lot less than you would get it, and you won't get no fights in the bars and all like that. So I said, okay, you sold me, and I joined that. Then when I got discharged, I joined the American Legion, and was a member up here in Troy. And it was all the guys were getting out of the service then, And they were my friends from around here and all like that. So it was a nice homey place there. In fact, we got a wedding reception there. Did we? We held our wedding reception there.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was on the ship with you?
Sure.
Oh,
We had
books of reunions.
So you've been to reunions?
a lot of them. I says to her, I told her about my trip across back and forth on the train. They said, geez, you want to see the Painted Desert and all that stuff, and all these towns and things, states, the rivers you just heard about but you never saw. Okay. I says, we're going to go to San Diego on a train. Everybody, what? We did. Back and forth. And she thought she was going to hate it, but she loved it. She said, we had a room on the train, and we had the dining car next to it, and everything was perfect. You just, you're all set. And well, we did pretty good. I loved it, as a matter of fact, because I love railroading, and I remember being brought up here to Troy from New York on the train, you know, and I got to like and ride on trains. So that's what made me come cross country, really. I wanted to just be able to sit on my kid and look out the windows. And, I asked a lady, on that trip I took there was a, what was it? They had somebody on the train died. Okay, so what does that mean to you? Well, to me, the poor fellow died, you know. They said, no, you have to wait. This is out in the desert. You got to wait until the medical examiner comes and tells you, you know, you can move the body. Oh, jeez. What a time that was. That train was getting further and further behind. Okay. We missed all our connections when we got to Chicago. And they put us up in a hotel. They gave us money for a taxi going back and forth to the train station. They gave us vouchers for meals. They bent over backwards, really, to, you know. So I was telling this lady on the train coming through New York, I said, I was telling her all about the things we saw, coyotes and turkeys and all this other stuff, and people selling stuff in the stations, you know, the Indians and all like that. And I says, did anything ever happen to you on it? And she looked at her friend, and both of them says, well, she says, we got tied up, something like that. I said, what happened to you guys? She says, going across the desert, they hit a horse. The train hit a horse. She said, the whole front of the train was covered with horse. And the old cook, she says, going out, he got his pipe in his hand and all like that. He come back and he's gagging like it. I hope they don't order any kind of beef. Jeez.
How do you think your time in the service changed or had an effect on your life?
I was enlightened about people, places, and how to get along. Simple as that. I didn't get to church, you know, like, because we were at sea all the time. The only time I got the mass on the ship itself is when they send a priest aboard to pray for, you know, all the dead. And he heard confessions and all like that. And everybody's looking at each other. Gee, I didn't know you were a Catholic. Yeah. And don't take too long in there because I got to go next. Anyhow, that was, everybody got to know each other a little bit better that way, you know. Hey, you know, just before I got here, I just put 6 weeks of daily mass in St. Anthony's Church up there.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.
You're welcome. Boy, I'm telling you, I didn't know all that stuff was stuck in me.